everyone. Good afternoon. So I want to thank Arthaland for inviting me. And today, this afternoon, we will learn how we can spark joy in our homes and spark joy in our lives as well. So let's begin. If you are not familiar with Marie Kondo or the KonMari method, just think of it as this philosophy as a technique for tidying. Marie Kondo started her career when she was actually 19, but she had been tidying practically her entire life. She started at 5 years old, and these 6 rules are actually a condensed version of all the learnings that she got as she practiced tidying. And if we practice all these 6 rules, it's pretty much a guarantee that we will be successful in tidying. And I'll be happy to explain it later. I'll just do a quick run through of the 6 rules. Number 1 is you have to commit yourself to tidying up. 2, imagine your ideal lifestyle. 3, finish discarding first. 4, tidy by category, not by location. 5, follow the right order. I'll get to that later. And 6, the popular ask yourself if it sparks joy. So let's begin. What is commit and celebrate? Commit is, like a commitment. You have to set aside time to do it. It's not, I'll try, or maybe I'll do it. It's really, I'm gonna do it. And from my own experience, 3 hours of commitment is enough to finish one category. So what's that category? For example, clothes. In 3 hours, if you tidy your closet or maybe your kitchen cabinets, you will definitely see a huge difference in how your space will look, how the energy flows in the room. And a trick here is you have to kind of tweak your mindset a bit and think of it as a celebration. Many of us think of tidying as a chore, like it's something you don't want to do, or it's the last thing you would want to do. But if you think of tidying as a celebration, as something fun to do, as something productive, and that you will liberate yourself from kalat, then you are 90% on the way to succeeding. So, just tweak that mindset and then commit to it. 3 hours per category. Next, imagine your ideal life. So, like any, goal-oriented person, you have to have a clear direction or a clear picture of how you want your space to look like. So if you're an architect, diba, you're drawing a space. If you're an interior decorator, you have a mood board. You kind of have an idea of where you want to go, of that picture in your head that you want to turn into reality. And that's the same with tidying. You have to imagine how your space will look like. And in this example, the client just wanted a work desk that she could use for mixing her oils, because she's a certified clinical aromatherapist and she works with oils. So this is a popular thing that people are doing, fixing their work from home spaces. And in this scenario, it was clear in her head, a clear clutter-free work desk where she can mix her oils in peace. And actually, in 2 hours, she got it. 2 hours lang. So if you really have a clear picture in your head, you'll get there. Many of us, kasi when we tidy, we don't really have an end goal. We just say, oh, we'll tidy, we're gonna clean up, but you don't even know how your space will look. So it's important to have an idea of how you want your space to look. Here's another example. This is a closet. So this is the same client. She just wanted space for her oiling supplies, because you remember the oiling supplies in the first picture, she didn't have space for it. It turns out that if she cleared out her closet of unused bags, of empty boxes, of unused shopping bags, and just basically stuff that she just stored there but never really used, she had plenty of space for her oils. Next, a mom's work desk. Um, she was sharing it with her husband, and the husband, I think, was getting frustrated because both of them couldn't work in peace because everything was, piled on top of the work desk. And because it was clear in her head that she wanted a work desk that was, a place she could really work and not a junk spot, a junk table for her kids' stuff, um, she got it. Also in less than 2 hours. You really just have to commit to the time. 2 to 3 hours will really do so much. 3 hours talagang malaking difference. In 2 hours, a work desk would be a good start. She really had to go through each and every piece. There were drawings of her kids, paper that needed to be signed, a lot of stuff that she actually threw away also. So remember, once you keep your space tidy, you will know how to put it back in the state. So even if your kids start putting stuff again on your table, you kind of have an idea of how to get it back to this state. And actually, a year later, the mom sent me a picture of this exact work desk, and she was saying, you know, every time I fix my work desk, I think of you because I realized that may chance pala. I can really fix it and I can maintain it. I don't have to, worry about it always being untidy. I know how to put it back into this ideal state. Next rule. You have to let go. Many of us, we are resistant in letting go of stuff, and I'll get into that later. But another rule of tidying is you have to be prepared emotionally, mentally, psychologically to let go of things. And it will do wonders for you. So I'll explain later how to do it, easily. But it's really important that you don't just move stuff around. You really have to take stuff out of the house or out of the room. Tidy by category. What does that mean? Many of us, we tidy by room. So we're always told as kids, tidy your room, clean your room, clean the car, clean the garage. It's always location based. With this method, we do it by category because for one, when we're dealing with finite objects, alam mong mauubos yun eh. Eventually, you'll finish everything. You'll go through everything. And um, it also provides you with a focus. So you know you're just dealing with clothes and then books and then paper. So in this example, with clothes, you pull everything out. You can put it on your bed, on the couch, on the floor, wherever, it doesn't matter. Go through each and every piece and then put them back. So this was actually my own closet. And as you can see, before I was afraid to open the closet because something might fall on me. And now I'm very comfortable with empty spaces. It really does wonders for you. Next, books. The same thing, pull everything out in one corner, go through each and every book, and then put them back in your bookcase. Paper. With paper, let the person who owns the paper handle it. Don't throw other people's papers because you don't know how important it is to them. So for your kids, for example, let them handle their own paper. Let them throw what they don't need. I suggest that you have 3 piles. Immediates, meaning a pile that you need to immediately take care of, maybe bills that you need to pay, documents that you need to sign, set it aside. Have a pile for things that you will need for a limited period of time, meaning warranties, any like BIR tax returns, you have to keep them for 5 years, receipts, anything that you need to keep for a limited period, put it in another pile. And the last pile are the most important documents, maybe land titles, art documents, something super important like passports, keep it in a separate pile. So if you segregate by that category, it will be easier to go through paper. Kimono. So what is kimono? These are miscellaneous items. Kimono is Japanese for miscellaneous. And these are usually pantry supplies, kitchen equipment, your bowls and plates, dinnerware. It can also be toys. It can also be toiletries, sporting equipment. So anything that does not fall in the first 3 categories. And in this example, it was actually the mom who was the client. But when her son saw her tidying, she said, Mama, I want to do that too. So remember, you don't have to have everyone in the family on board right away. But if somebody starts the process, it's by osmosis, they will seem to, take on the desire to tidy. And in this example, so the toys, the books were piling off from the front door to the couch. Eventually we were able to limit it to these two bookcases. And the funny thing here is the last category here are the sentimental items, the stuffed toys, because the mom couldn't let go of her son's toys. So I'll go into that later, bakit mahirap yung sentimental. But the funny story here is eventually the mom said she was able to let go of the sentimental toys because she realized that her son was happy to give them away and she was just the one hanging on to them. So to recap, and this is the fifth rule, follow the right order. You start with clothes, books, papers, kimono, and sentimental items. So always leave sentimentals for last because they are the hardest. They say that, sentimental items are actually triggers. And in psychology, when you see a trigger, the memories and the emotions are brought up to the surface. And that is why it's hard to let go of sentimental items. Finally, before anything, there's also an order for digital clutter. If you have, at the workplace, this is how you let go of digital clutter. You start with your files, and then your emails, and then your apps. Okay, finally, the last question. Ask yourself, does it spark joy? So many of us, we hold on to things because baka magamit or sayang. Those are the reasons why we hold on to things. But in reality, we should be asking ourselves, does it spark joy? Do these collection of sneakers spark joy? Do my collections of plates spark joy? If all of them do, then fine, keep them. But many of us, we keep them because of guilt or fear or, baka maubusan. So always ask yourself when going through each piece, it really makes sense to just keep the things that make you happy, because why keep things that, remind you of unfortunate or unpleasant memories? Okay, remember, this method is life transforming. It will change your life and your perspective, and you will never revert to clutter again. And you might be thinking, you mean my house will look like a showroom forever, like pristine and, clutter-free? Of course not, because we live our lives in this home or in our office, and, you take out paper, you throw something out. I mean, we are in motion. So a showroom is a place where nobody lives in. So it will never, our real homes will not look like that. But the great thing is, we know how to make it look like a showroom when we're done, using these things. So you will revert to clutter temporarily, but you will never go back to the old state where you don't know what to do with your stuff and it's just too overwhelming. Remember, clutter is not just the stuff on your floor. It's anything that stands between you and the life you want to be living. So clutter is not just kalat. It affects us in many ways. And if you really think about it, our home should be our sanctuary. Our home should be our safe space. It should not be a place that you want to escape from. So let's tidy our homes. Let's keep it, a space where we can really recharge and, feel safe. Now it's like our cocoon. And here are the costs of clutter. It's not just your space. It's also time, because you're, looking for lost things. They say that people spend at least an hour a day looking for lost things. It can be also money. You end up buying things you already have, or you sometimes forget to pay a bill because you weren't able to find the bill in time, and now there are charges. So it costs us money to have clutter in the house. Another is health. Especially now, we know that health is wealth, literally, because of how expensive it is to get sick. And If you have a clean and tidy home, it does wonders not just for your physical health, but your mental health as well. And of course, like I said, space. Your space could be something you should be enjoying instead of it being a junk room. So turn that space into a space that you love. Maybe a corner for your books instead of a junk corner, a corner where you can exercise instead of a tambakan of, things you don't even need anymore. So why does clutter happen? I'll go through it because I want you to understand why, we hang on to things. And there are actually three basic reasons. One is attachment to the past. We think that, I bought it for this much, and so probably it's as expensive as it is now. But we are actually just looking at the perceived value. Maybe we bought a cell phone for X amount 5 years ago, but if you try to sell that cell phone now, you won't get the same amount. So we sometimes have to be rational when looking at something. Are you holding on to it because it's mahal? And if it's mahal, can you sell it at the same amount? Unless it's artwork, it won't really, appreciate in value. Or unless it's real estate, it won't appreciate in value. So always think, am I holding on to it because of perceived value? And then, that's when you decide, should I keep it, should I not? Next, sentimental reasons. So again, we are attached to certain things because of sentimental reasons. You think that, it represents who you are, or it reminds you of, happier times. Now, if it reminds you of happier times, fine, keep it. But if you're holding on to something out of guilt or fear that, this was my Lola's gift, I don't really like it, but if she finds out that I gave it away, she might feel bad. So, things like that, you have to really ask yourself, why am I holding on to something? Uh, I I put a photo of, ballet shoes here because I had a client and she used to be a ballerina. But now she's a mom with 3 kids, and she actually had a cabinet full of ballet stuff, like tutus, dance tights, leggings, jackets, jazz shoes, but everything about dancing. And it was really taking up space in her condo. And so I asked her, do you have any plans of dancing, maybe teaching? She said, no, not really. I mean, I'm a mom now. I don't have time for this. And eventually, she decided she was gonna give all her dancing paraphernalia to an NGO that teaches dance to street children. So it was a very beautiful way of, honoring your past, but also allowing other people to, use and enjoy these things, because otherwise they wouldn't have been able to afford it. So always remember, is it something that represents who you are now? Does it serve you now? If it just, serves as a memory of the past and you don't really use it, consider giving it to a worthy cause. Next. So if attachment to the past is a cause for clutter, fear of the future is also a cause for clutter. And many of us, I'm kind of guilty now of stockpiling because, you might run out of flour or sugar. So this was during the early days, but now because the groceries are back to normal business, so it's not that hard to find these things anymore. But remember, stockpiling and buying things on sale, unless you really use them, unless you really need them, it doesn't make sense because it just takes up space in your home. And sometimes you're also spending unnecessarily. So you just be mindful why you're doing this, why you're holding on to things. So that's one. And another is, one day I will use this, or one day I will lose weight, or one day I might have another child, or one day. It's always about one day this might happen, so I might need it. And many people are asking me, because I tidied many years ago and I gave away so many things. So it's now the pandemic. Is there anything that you regret giving away? And actually, there's none. I actually feel happy that I gave away a lot of things and my home is neat and tidy because it feels like a sanctuary. So one day I will use this shouldn't be a benchmark. if you're deciding on keeping something. And finally, so attachment to the past, fear of the future, and failure to return things to where they belong is another source of clutter. Many of us, because we don't assign a home for each item, we don't know where to find them. And it ends up you have a junk table or a junk corner or a junk room because things that have no home end up there. And the next thing you know, clutter is a magnet. It will pile up. You will eventually have a mountain of things that you don't even use, and it's just all there piling up. So remember, have a home for everything. And in my example, I always used to lose our car keys, and the simple trick to that pala was just have a bowl, a candy dish that was given to me. I never used it, but I realized that I can use that bowl as a catch-all for the keys, the house keys, and everything. So I put it by the door so that every time we come in, the house keys go there, and never have I had a chance that I would always lose something anymore. So it was that simple lang pala. Simple tweaks in how you live, and it does wonders for you. Now, let's go to folding. I hope you have your shirts and shorts and jeans with you, because I'm going to teach you how to fold your clothes. Let's begin. Can you see? So there. How do you fold a shirt? So with this method, it doesn't matter if you fold it in or you fold it the usual way. The trick really here is folding it to stand. So in this method, we fold the shirt in. So this is the front, you fold it in. The sleeves should always be inside, so that when you fold to stand, nothing sticks out, okay? So the goal really is always have a rectangle. When you fold, always have extra space at the bottom. And I think the reason why you do that is so it won't be too bulky when you fold, and then you fold in half. And it will stand. If you fold jeans, I used to always hang my jeans, but I realized that that takes up too much space. So now I fold my jeans, and this is how you fold your jeans. So this is the front, fold it inwards. This part that sticks out, you can fold in, fold in half, always leave space at the bottom, and you can fold this in twos or thirds or fourths, depending on the depth of your drawers. So this is 1, 2, 3. Shorts. How do we fold shorts? The same actually. Fold it in. This part that sticks out, you fold in. Then fold in half. Again, leave space here at the bottom. And then fold. Now for irregular shaped items, I know that can be a challenge. Remember lang, you have to fold it into a rectangle. So for example, this skirt, so it's not gonna be perfectly folded. So because this is narrow here and then it it flares to the bottom, just adjust. So fold in and make sure that you get a rectangular shape. Then fold in half. Leave the space at the bottom. And again, fold. So you can do it in halves, in thirds, in fourths, depends on what your space looks like. And as you can see, when I go back to my presentation, your closet should look like this. Um, when you pull something out, you see everything at a glance. Now, if you don't have a drawer or a pull-out drawer, that's fine. You can just do the same in your regular cabinet. The point here is you do not stack your clothes one on top of the other. It's folded out in such a way that when you see everything, when you pull something out, the shirts or whatever it is that you've stacked won't topple. Sometimes kasi we lose things because we pull something out, something falls to the back, and then you forget it's there, and then you buy another one. So this just makes sure that you see everything in one look. Here's an example of my jeans. So it took up so much space, maybe 1/3 of my hanging space. But once I folded it, it just took up a little, maybe not even 2 by 3 feet. I don't know. No, maybe less, 2 by 2 feet. But it's not too much space. It's really a space saver. And don't think of, folding as lukot. Kasi actually, it's not the folds that cause the wrinkling, but the pressure when you put too many things together. Okay? And this is an example of when we could still travel. If I had to go somewhere, it was so easy to pack because one, everything's pre-folded. You know where everything is. And, it also translates into how you think when you travel. You also KonMari your itinerary, and so you no longer do the unnecessary things that really don't spark joy with you. So right now we can't travel, but this folding technique will come in very handy when it's safe to go out na again. But now in our entire closet, like if you keep your clothes like this, it's just a joy to look at. A lot of my clients and the people I've taught how to tidy and fold their clothes like this, they're very happy. Like they say when they open their closet, it just makes them so happy and it looks so peaceful that they don't want the yayas to return their clothes. They want to be the ones putting their clothes back in their closets. It's fun. Okay, KonMari storage. Let's do this quick. How do you store? Okay, remember lang. Try to store everything in one spot. So if you have electronics, everything in one spot. If you have school supplies, office supplies, store them in one spot. Ideally, you see everything at a glance. And be resourceful. Use what you have. You don't have to buy. You can use boxes. You can use paletas. It doesn't matter. Whatever works for you, especially now it's hard to really just go out and buy stuff. So use what you have, and eventually you can prettify it and make it a spark joy space as you go along. Remember to define storage spaces. So if your kids are sharing a closet, assign one closet for each child. Don't mix them up. Make sure that one person is responsible for her own space, because if they are responsible for their own space, they will take care of it. I remember when I was a kid, I had to share a closet with my sister, and she was makalat. So you're not incentivized to keep it tidy because every time you tidy, someone else will, mess it up again. So try to assign na lang a space, and you can see also who's more inclined to be tidy with their own space. And I think when another person in your household sees your space, they will also want to do the same. So just shine the light on them. And when hanging clothes, try to hang from shortest to longest like this, or longest from left to right. So it rises to the right. Longest from the left, it rises to the right. It looks nicer, streamlined, cleaner. And see, it's the same amount of clothes, but it just looks so much neater when we did it on the right side. And when storing supplies like your desk drawers, think bento. So assign a space for your Sharpies, your calling cards, your Post-its. It also allows you to see if you're running out of supplies. Bento can also apply with your kitchen drawers or any drawer space. If you don't have drawers, feel free to use bins or boxes, empty cartons. It doesn't matter. Just be creative. Yan, boxes. And like I said, when storing paper, like I shared in the earlier slide, have a pile for immediates, limited, meaning you have to keep them for a limited period, and then indefinites. Indefinite meaning you have to keep it for a long time, or maybe, until you sell it. So car, ORCR, land titles, and stuff like that. When folding, remember, fold to stand. If it helps, fold by material. So, store by materials. So all the cotton together, all the linens, all the towels. But in the end, it really depends on how you want to do it, how it makes sense for you. Don't let other people dictate, kasi you know what works best for you, and you know if you want to do things a certain way. So if you want to have all your linens na all the matching ones together, then that's fine. Or if you want to do napkins together, tablecloths together, placemats together, there's really no rule. What works for you, what is best for you is the rule. Remember that the benefits of decluttering is not just on your physical space. It does something to our mental headspace, our overall, well-being. So it's not just physical, but also mental, emotional, psychological, spiritual. Some of the benefits of decluttering are mindfulness, contentment, health, purpose. For those working from home, focus, productivity, less stress, and better decision making. And at the end of the day, it's all about happiness, because they said that, people who live in a cluttered space, their stress hormone, their cortisol levels shoot up. And when that happens, actually your worldview, the way you perceive the world, is also very negative. So if you take down, the clutter, take away the clutter, you have a calm and very manageable cortisol levels in your brain, then you will find happiness. Now, if you'd like to learn more about Marie Kondo and her work, there are 4 books. There's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, the illustrated version, which is Spark Joy. There's a manga for the younger ones who want, a comic book style manga of Japanese manga. And they recently launched Joy at Work. So for those, who want to find joy in their careers. Now, if you want to show me your photos after tidying and you want to share them with me, please follow sparkjoy.ph. There are also some tips there on how to tidy your space. And there's a support group on Facebook called Spark Joy Philippines. So if you have questions on tidying, if you want, to share how beautiful your space looks like before and after, or you just want to have a support group when it comes to tidying, there's Spark Joy Philippines on Facebook. So remember, when you tidy your space, you transform your life. Thank you, guys, and happy tidying. Now, we open the floor for questions.